So today I was thinking about making a video, and I don't normally do this kind of stuff. I'm kind of random, kind of a random channel. I just kind of like do whatever, you know. I'm not like trying to get traction. I'm not like in that way. I just kind of like care about what I do care about is what is very close to me. And recently, as of 2019, I'm a huge connoisseur of music. I love to listen to incredibly different music, and my taste in music is mostly very different underground type stuff. One of my favorite groups of all time is Cabaret Voltaire. As I've told you, maybe many who do know me know that that is my favorite thing. It's why I'm kind of who I am today as far as a listener. And, you know, as I've told you before, well, maybe not you, but people who do know me, it's one of those things that, you know, you had during the 80s if you were into that sort of thing, like I know I am. There's no questions on that for me. You know, it was one of those that you just got excited about. He did have, Malinger had a few of his own self-titled work, as much as I think Kirk did as well. And they were very hard to find. And I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, you know, so I don't have as much access to things as maybe other people may. And out here in Vegas, you know, you're pretty limited to what is popular. The mainstream definitely has more to do with that here than I'd say probably living in some place like California. Places in California have more access to things that I don't think we do. But correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know for sure. But Vegas has a very different sort of makeup to me. I feel like even when it comes to our idea, you know, what we think about as far as stuff in the 80s or latter 70s, we're pretty much limited to things like Lynyrd Skynyrd. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to put anybody down here. I respect everybody in what I'm doing and what I'm going to get to in a minute. It's not bad. I just, you hear it all the time. It's, you know, classic rock and rock in general is just, you know, it was never my favorite thing. I was always in search for that next most unique thing. What is the most unique thing out there? And, you know, I've listened to a lot of stuff growing up, and I was a huge fan of Peter Gabriel and Brian Ferry when I was a young kid. I spent a lot of time with things like Brian Eno, David Byrne. I was a huge fan of things like that when I was younger, and I just felt like I couldn't find music like that anywhere. You know, and Depeche Mode was my favorite band when I was a kid, and I was still like, I understand what happened recently, you know, so that's why I didn't want to bring up too much there, but these were the things that I grew up loving and as a kid. So we're talking like 5, 6 years old. This was what I couldn't get enough of. But when I go out into public, any public place, you know, it's like that music doesn't exist. And it's like, well, that's pretty well known today. And it's like, well, I live in Vegas, and it doesn't seem that way, you know. When you live in Vegas, most people's idea of the 80s seem to kind of never go anywhere far past Journey, Bon Jovi, things along those lines. The kind of glam rock stuff that really became the 80s. Also the hair bands, I get a lot of that. And it's not that I don't like it, or it's not my thing. No. However, already being someone who likes this different stuff, you know. I was listening to Dusty Street, and I just want to do real quickly a shout out to Dusty Street. If she ever would watch this, that would be wonderful. I want to thank her so much for introducing Cabaret Voltaire to me. I was at the age of 18 when I was listening to her radio show, Star 102.7, I believe. She had like this really incredible show every Sunday from 9 to 12. Fantastic stuff that she would introduce. Some things I may have already known, but it was just nice to hear it on the radio. It was like, wow, I never thought I'd see the day that could ever happen. But, you know, I think somewhere in the span of time in 2004, that just kind of disappeared, and eventually you would just hear a Mexican, you know. It was still kind of interesting, though, in its own right, but it just kind of went off, and there'd be no, you just hear this static and something of like some mariachi music playing in the back. But the last thing she left me with was a track by Cabaret Voltaire called Why Kill Time, which maybe to some of you may not feel like the most cuddly song, but I never heard anything like it. And as somebody like me who really looks for that next and most unique and kind of gives you a different idea of how to look at things for yourself, your life, you know, it gives you a greater understanding to what's around us instead of what we kind of want things to be. Really kind of appreciating things for what they truly are, maybe where we can be better. And Cabaret Voltaire has a very interesting way of challenging you to better yourself. And maybe, I'm curious if any of you guys are fans of Cab, to leave a comment in the section if, you know, if you feel the same way, or if you have a different band that had a way of changing the game for you. As a listener, it changed things for me. Again, I was already listening to very different music, and then I found that, went to go pick up the album at Tower Records when I was about 18 years old, going on 19. And boy, I had no idea just what a life-changing moment that was, and it meant everything to me. And so these two gentlemen, Stephen Mallender and Richard Kirk, were like amazement for me. And again, I can't stress it enough. I just think that there's not enough credit when it comes to that. You know, please let me know in the comment section, you know, what your thoughts on that are. As you know, we no longer have Kirk with us, but I feel very bad saying that. I don't want to bring up any, again, I don't like talking about things that are sad. I don't, you know, I have a hard time with that, because it's like I lost somebody I knew, even though I've never met him in my life. He was a big part of my life and part of my narrative, and so it feels like it's kind of something for me personally. But Mallender's still alive and kicking, doing very well, and he is going to be releasing a new album coming up in July, so it's next month. It's called Tick Tick Tick, and we've got 2 tracks so far, and I was very excited. Please check it out. It is very unstoppable. I love it. I'm very excited about this. There's a lot of new things coming out, and again, you know, another thing that I was going to bring up was all this amazement, all this excitement is starting to happen more and more. And if you're looking and you're seeing everything as it's happening, you will discover there is plenty of great things out there. And a lot of us have said, well, music's not like it used to be, is it? Things just aren't quite like they used to be. And I hear this all the time, and you can go back to the 70s and you probably might have seen that at some point if you were, correct me if I'm wrong, but we always think that things weren't like they used to be. It almost just makes sense to say that. And I disagree with that, because if you're looking at the mainstream and you're waiting on the mainstream for something different or something you're interested in, you're looking in the wrong place. And what's fascinating about the mainstream is it's not going to give you what you want. It's going to kind of give you what works on a more external level. And I don't want to get into technical stuff, but I'm very interested in how people use music in their life, or how it becomes a part of their life. For me, it's like becoming a listener rather than a consumer. It has a very different ring to it, I think. But yeah, Cabaret Voltaire opened that door for me, and I've never really been the same. And I like who I am. It's like 18 years old. It shocks me, you know, that the things that you love so much are alive and kicking and doing even more content. And today we have a lot of very interesting stuff going on with music. So I'm very excited to explain. I can go on forever. I gotta try not to make this a long video. I would love to. But yes, please share your comments in the section, like what bands had a change on you, and how it might have affected you, how you might see things. It affected me as a listener, but also who I am as a person, and what I see and how I look at things. And it has a whole different way of showing you what's real. And it comes from a place of honesty, and absolutely amazing stuff. And I can't stress it enough how much my excitement goes on and on and on right now. It is like, that's why I'm making this video. And it's, again, this isn't my area of expertise here, but it changed many things more than one for me. So, you know, I suggest, like, when we look at things like, oh, music's like not how it used to be, it's not like it used to be, or, you know, maybe we need to challenge ourselves as listeners to go out and search and do a little more digging, do your part. I think maybe we should challenge ourselves a little bit to kind of go beneath the surface, go and check out those things. You know, you don't know what you're going to find, and that can be with any genre. So if you're looking at the mainstream and you're thinking, well, I don't like the mainstream. Well, you're not alone. I'm not a fan of it either. I never was. But I didn't really care for the mainstream in the 80s, let alone today. It's like, well, mainstream sucks more today. Well, the authenticity that we were starting to lack in the 80s is by far more noticeable here as far as the lacking aspects of it. But again, mainstream music is not designed to kind of affect you in a personal way. It can. But music that's crafted to kind of speak to you and have more, you have more to it. It means something more to you. And it could very well be a mainstream group, and I'm very interested in those stories, especially. Is you might be a huge, let's say you're a big Kiss fan or something like that. I'm curious how it changed your life in some way or changed you as a listener. I'm more curious to hear that. But my favorite thing is, and will always be, Cabaret Voltaire. And I feel like it's still alive today, in my opinion. I'm a huge fan of it. I've been all over that since I was 18. And the magic never stops. It goes on. And it can be enjoyed forever and ever. It can never be unmade. So, with that said, if you like this kind of thing, I might start making more of this kind of content. I would be more excited to do that. I love talking about music. I like to hear how it changed them in some way. So, yeah, go ahead and leave a comment in the section telling me your story with music and how it affected you. Or maybe just your favorite band and why. But I want to hear, I'm interested. And as somebody who's interested, you know, I love to share. I like to share. I like to get other people to share. I definitely suggest hearing this, you know, I can't go on forever, but I can talk forever because I love to talk about music. So we're going to try to cut it here. We are right at that 13. Oh, but now we're going over 13. But all right. Thank you for listening.